Haleakala. At an elevation of 10,023 feet, it's the physical and spiritual high point of the island of Maui, Hawaii. It's the house of the rising sun, and it's also a national park. There are only 10 backcountry tent sites within the boundaries of the park, and I've managed to snag one. So today I've got the opportunity to hike down into the crater and sleep inside a dormant volcano. Every time I've been to Haleakala, the winds at the summit have been significant, and that was very true here as well.
Welcome to Maui. I'm on Kapalaoa, which is the White Hill is the name of it.
I didn't realize just how much that was interfering with my ability to capture audio in the place. Hence the need to give you an after-the-fact voiceover of the journey. At least for now.
I was glutton for punishment, came uphill first. I didn't have to, but figured I'd see how well acclimated I was to the elevation. And no good excuse not to tell you the truth. So from here I'm going back down to the visitor center and then onto the sliding sands trail to descend into the crater. This is the Summit Visitor Center complex. Small little gift shop. Can only pronounce that while I'm reading. Who knows if I got it actually right. So, Kapalaoa is where I think I'm headed for lunch. There's a cabin there. And then eventually I'm going to make it back to the Halemau'u trailhead, 11.2 miles, but I'm going a little farther than that published route. Just because I can, and I got a lot of time to do it. So I think I'll be probably 15 or so, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, here we go.
There are two main exit points for material out of the Haleakala crater, one to the north and one to the south. The one to the north is called Ko'olau Gap. This is the exit point for several lava flows over the years, the most recent being about 900 years ago. As you can probably see, there's a massive amount of material that has emptied out of this crater and through that gap down to the north.
I'm hiking on Mars.
The first part of this adventure is actually getting to the trailhead. I left my car at Halemau'u trailhead at about 8,000 feet. Hitchhiking is encouraged in Haleakala National Park, and there's an area here that leads you to a specific hiker pickup along the winding road that leads to the summit. I happened to walk out just in time to meet Dan from British Columbia, who had just pulled over to take some pictures, and he readily agreed to take me up to the summit. This was the first point of anxiety of my trip as to how long I'd have to wait, and it turned out not to be hard at all, so thank you, Dan.
I seem to have reached the elevation where the Silverswords start to grow, about 8,500 feet. These Silverswords are endemic to Haleakala. This is the only place in the world where they grow. They look like thin-bladed white yuccas, and then occasionally, or I guess at the end of their life cycle, they'll send out a spike that blooms with big purple flowers, and then apparently they die. Being as arid as it is up here, I mean, this is essentially a desert, and they grow to look like a desert plant. Apparently they aren't related to yuccas or anything like that. They're related to sunflowers. So I guess it's just convergent evolution. So the other thing I've noticed here, I'm about 2 miles in, maybe a little more, 8,500 feet, and day hikers have thinned out considerably. I did pass a backpacker who's going to be out here for 2 nights, which is cool. Passed a lot of people, I guess, just going down to get in the crater and then turn around to come back out. And those folks are few and far between now, pretty much alone. I'm sure I'll see others. There are folks out here that are doing the full 11-mile circuit back to Halemau'u. But yeah, it's pretty cool. One of the neat things here is, you know, on one hand it's like vast, open, just huge space that makes you feel tiny. And then you come around a corner and enter a little wash, or in this case a spot where there's a lot of lava left over, and it's suddenly very intimate. It's pretty neat. Alright, I've sort of leveled off and reached the ledge that runs along the south side of this crater. You can see how far down I've come here. I'm at about 8,000 feet now, which is about my ending elevation. So every bit I go down from this point, I'll have to come back up. One of the things that I've learned here is that this crater is not the result of Haleakala basically blowing up. It's not that. There was a small summit crater, kind of like there is at Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea now, and all of this is erosion. It's rain and wind has just caused these huge landslides. And you can sort of see on the slopes here that just all of the rock and sand has achieved a slump angle from sliding down these hills. And it just so happens that a lot of it, you know, went out of the space, and the crater just got wider and wider and wider. There's 2 gaps, one going north towards Hana, one going south, where a lot of this material has gone out towards the ocean. But the cinder cones that are in the middle are evidence of eruptions that sort of happened after a lot of that took place. So, you know, volcano grows, erosion wears it down, landslides, more eruptions in the middle, form new cones, and over and over. The last eruption here was between 200 and 400 years ago, and that was basically a vent on the side of the mountain, low altitude, down by the south. The last one up here, I think, was about 900 years ago. So, dormant, but not extinct. Hopefully, Pele will sleep for the next couple of days, at least. Well, apparently I was wrong. Still more down to go. Down to the crater floor here. It is, wind is picking up too. I gotta say, from the top, I had no idea that these cinder cones were as tall as they are. It's pretty impressive. Alright, now I've reached the bottom. I'm at about 7,400 feet or so. This is about the same elevation as my campsite. So, should be just gentle rolling along the bottom here. I just passed the intersection to Halemau'u trail, and that takes
that said it was 3.5 over to my campsite at Holua. I'm going to make it a little longer than that. I'm continuing on, headed to Kapalaoa. I think that's right. There's a cabin down here, which I think will give me a nice lunch stop and just give me a more scenic cut back across the canyon over through these red cinder cones. It's hard to tell, but it looks like there's actually some water coming down there. A little waterfall. Sunlight shining off of something shiny. This really is Mars, I think. It's sort of like I'm walking across a dry lake bed now. It's very sandy. It's kind of hard going. I don't know which is worse, the soft sand or the hard rolling chunks of lava. This trail has it all. Nene tracks. Yeah, well, this confirms it. I definitely got off trail accidentally there. The trail had braided into just basically a featureless sand flat. And I followed what looked like the most obvious route, and there were other footprints, so I wasn't the only one. But it's pretty obvious that wasn't it, and so I veered back across here. I see a sign back there now. I think it was just basically saying here's the trail, but I had left it before I saw that sign. In retrospect, I think I saw a little cairn, which had I paid more attention to that might have helped. Anyway, I'm back on the trail. That's pretty cool looking. You can picture like they were blobs of hot lava where the outside cooled into this black crust and the interior cooled much more slowly. It's like trash bags broken open and there's goo inside, but it's all rock. It's cool. It's gotten grassy now. Where I'm going to head back towards Holua and my campsite, and here's where I'm going to stop for lunch. Kapalaoa is right there. I just see a roof right behind that ridge line. Paliku is the other backcountry campsite that's out here, another 3.5 miles away. All right, here we are at Kapalaoa. I'm gonna see if I can maybe use the picnic table over here. There's some question because there are two Nene hanging out under the picnic table, and they might have objections. Let us see. Hey guys, how are you? Do you mind if I use the table? Please. This one started honking, and there are two more over there behind the cabin answering. Nene everywhere. All right, the Nene are pretty chill here. They're just sort of watching me. I'm not gonna hurt you guys. I'm gonna have some lunch here, and I'm trying to be a little experimental this trip. And because I'm in Hawaii, of course, I gotta try to do something with this. So for lunch, I'm gonna do some Hawaiian, let's see, Spam grilled cheese sandwiches on Hawaiian sweet roll bagels. I'm gonna go ahead and cook all of it. Whatever I don't cook is breakfast in the morning. But whatever I don't eat. All right, meal number one is good. The Spam really is hot and spicy though. I'm gonna need a lot of water. All right, tasty lunch, good company with the Nenes. I'm back on the trail and I got half a can of Spam and one of the bagels left for to add to breakfast tomorrow. I'm probably gonna walk out of here with more food than I really should, but that's all right. Sign back there said 3.7 to Holua. Cutting across the lava plain and the cinder cones here. This looks like a wasteland. All this jagged lava. Very hard to find a trail through here. Lots of boot prints where I'm going, and you can see where people walk, they turn over the soil just a little bit, and just below the surface it's a lot lighter color than on the surface, so you can kind of see some beige tracks running up this slope in front of me. But GPS kind of indicates this is the right way up between two of these peaks. But yeah, it's kind of sketchy. Well, I was getting a little irritated by the wind before as it was picking up and in my face. Now I wish I had more of it. It's getting kind of hot out here. Everything's just reflecting off of this sand. All right, getting closer. Campsite's in that little grassy strip right up under the foot of that cliff over there. Color changes out here just blow me away. Alright, well, I'm done walking around the cinder cones. I've re-intersected the short day hike loop, short test, right? And I'm headed to Holua. Sign back there said 1.9, and it looks like I'm going to be crossing a relatively fresh lava field. As I understand, this is the flow that happened about 900 years ago. So probably some scattered rocky lava all over the place. We shall see. grassy patch down there is Holua. Nope, I was wrong. That grassy patch down there is not Holua. That's Holua. I see the cabin. Okay, straight across to the cliff. This is rough going through this lava. Glad I don't have to cross country it. Home sweet home. It's tasty. The teriyaki isn't as strong as I thought it would be. The nori is really coming through. A lot of seaweed flavor. It's good. It's definitely different. Let me put some soy sauce in it, just to bump up the teriyaki. Yeah, that's better. It didn't take much, just like 1 pack of soy sauce like you get at the takeout, and that was enough. I had some loco moco sauce. I was going to put this in, make it like a gravy, like a shepherd's pie, but I was afraid that would ruin it and take the Asian flavor away. I'm glad I didn't do it. So I'll take that home, but that's not much. I'll call it a successful experiment. The daikon radish is really good too. So I've got to say that Haleakala did a really good job of making these campsites feel isolated, even though we're not that far apart. Everybody's blocked by big bushes, like 3 and 4 are over behind that big bush. And one is down there about 100 feet. They've got an infant with them tonight. I can hear her crying. So they're going to have a rough night, but I think they'll do okay. I mean, Babies are pretty adaptable once you get them happy. We've got some alpenglow going on the peak across the gap here. This is the opening of the gap that drops all of the material down into Hana area, or the north coast. So that right there between those two ridges. Tomorrow morning, I've got to go down and up that ridge and over to finish. About 10 3/4 miles today. Maybe more like 10.6. I will say that frying Spam leaves dirty dishes. This stuff is surprisingly lean. There's not a lot of fat to it. Like I say, surprisingly. So it tends to burn pretty quick if you don't keep it moving. It did okay though. Gave it a nice char. Day 2. I'm leaving Holua. I was up before sunset or sunrise because you have to see sunrise in Haleakala. Haleakala means House of the Rising Sun. So I was ready to go and on the trail about 7:30 here. I've got about 4 miles to go today up and over this ridge. I was sort of quiet last night. Had some neighbors that I didn't want to bother with random talking, but I think I'm the first one out today. And the baby did fine all night. It's very quiet once they got her settled. So, the lady at the cabin last night told me that the climb up here was a vortex of pain, and it was. She said this is one of the few places in the canyon where you just see and feel the elevation for some reason right off the bat. So, I saw some plovers this morning, which is pretty early for their nesting cycle, but I saw 2 of them here looking around for probably a nest spot. There are at least 4 adult Nenes out here and 1 chick. Last night I heard them sort of honking and talking to each other around my tent. I got up to go to the bathroom and they were blocking my way to the outhouse, so there was a little bit of a standoff. And then coming back to my tent, they were in my campsite. So another little standoff. But yeah, they're cool birds. I like them. They apparently can have the attitude of a Canada goose, but I haven't seen it. I mean, a little bit of a lowering the head as a, back off kind of gesture, but no hissing, no charging, and they're pretty comfortable with you getting close. Just don't pester them. So anyway, excited for a new day.
It's really well stocked, honestly. Like the kitchen has a whole lot of stuff.
Oh yeah. And still can't drink the water, but as long as you boil it, right?
Yeah, and there's a little stove to the left there too,
Oh, yeah.
which is nice.
Very cool.
It's better stocked than I thought it was. I brought more stuff than I needed.
All right, there we go. Kapalaoa Gap. Clouds have been hanging around right at the level of this drop off pretty much the whole time I've been here. They sort of looked like they wanted to come up a little higher just as I was arriving last night, which frankly I wouldn't have minded. It was hot. It would have been nice to have the cool fog for a little bit, but it never did. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops over the day. Every foot I go down is another foot I gotta come up. The terrain here is like this loose gravel, but it's like lava rocks. They roll very easily. So going down, I've had to be real careful. Last night, just before I got to Holua, I kind of rolled on some of these things like marbles and slid into another rock and bashed my toe up pretty good. I thought I'd pulled a toenail off, but I think it's just going to get black and ugly. But yeah, it's slow going. The footing is precarious at times. We were just saying yesterday how I hadn't seen any lava tubes, but this is definitely one. You can see the wrinkly flow pattern here as everything came out of that pipe. It's pretty cool. Who knows what it's really shaped like, but from this angle it looks like a pyramid of stone. It's really kind of wild. So I'm entering that grassy area that I saw before, thinking it was Holua. Hale means house in Hawaiian. So Haleakala, house of the rising sun. I'm on the Halemau'u trail. Halemau'u apparently means house of grass. And it has to do with some archaeological findings apparently. So I gotta believe that some of these grassy patches here have to have something to do with that. I just startled a pheasant. It's like the third one of those I've seen out here, which is surprising. I didn't expect pheasants. I'm at 6,600 feet on this grassy plateau and getting ready to go up this rock face. Trail was cut, I think, by the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 30s, but it's impressive. I got to get up to 8,000, and I can see the trail switch back and across that. It looks like very narrow on very steep hills. This is going to be interesting. Interesting exposure, I think. See ocean for the first time. It's so much more lush and green on this side of the ridge where the clouds can come up but not spill over. The good thing is this trail isn't particularly steep, but it is unrelenting. And a lot of places where you've just got to step up on boulders that are knee-high. I hate that. So, but I think I've done my last real switchback. From here it's, I think I've got another 500 feet or so up, slabbing along this ridge to the trailhead. All right, I heard rumor of a place called the Rainbow Bridge, and I'm guessing this is what that is. I must be getting close to the top. The day hikers are getting frequent. All right, there it is, Halemau'u trailhead. It's going to turn out to be about a 15-mile loop for me, all told. So I did find out the vast majority of people that I ran into make this a two-nighter. They'll go down from the top to Paliku and then hike across the crater to Holua like I did, and then finish out. Also, a lot of the people that I met are from Maui and have done this multiple times. Like, this is their favorite outdoor thing, which I can respect. Really cool. Really recommend it. Not often you get to camp out in the bottom of a volcano crater. So, Haleakala. Get out there.